Hey, it's Phil and the Bros here. I'm going to give you my hot topics as quick as I can. Herbert, big money. Did he deserve it? Well, hasn't won a playoff game. Next. Sean Payton, Broncos. Let's ride. Payton, Russell Wilson. Are they the duo? Are they going to do it? Payton says anyone could have coached the team. Is that true? Not so sure. But we did check in with Bill Belichick to see how he was doing without Tom Brady. He was unavailable for comment. Next. KC, defending champs. Can they win it all? Yes, they can. Will they? Who knows? Chris Jones, got to resign him. Heart and soul the defense. Cog in the wheel. Next, the Raiders. The Patrioters. Yeah, that's all I got on there. Back to you, Meg.
Welcome back into Sunday Scaries with Buccs McGee. Sunday on a Saturday. We are heading out west on the AFC side. Yeah. And talking the biggest stories first in this division. First one, it's got to be the one that's had a little hullabaloo of late. Bringing in the big name quarterback last year. Let's ride. Let's ride, yes! And bringing in a big name coach this year. The former head of Gate himself, Sean Payton. Oh boy, it's hot in Denver now, ain't it? And it is a little hot out here in the Midlands Oasis in South Carolina, so let's cool off with Holy Roller Hazy Juicy IPA from Urban South. Another throw-in from the good folks down at the Urban South Brewery in New Orleans. Shout out to @NoahHops for grabbing the beer for me, being my proxy when I won my giveaway. So let's pop this open. ASMR for you kids.
Ooh. It's been an IPA weekend, man.
Yeah. It was National IPA Day the Thursday you came up, and then the day after was International Beer Day.
I'm telling you. IPA in it, yes.
And there's actually a variance of this for another division we'll talk about that you'll really like. It's the grapefruit Holy Roller.
Oh, okay.
So before we get into what is the Denver Broncos, what do we think of this? It's got a big, thick orange haze on it.
Oh yes, yes.
Has my finger out of the way so you folks can actually see it.
There's that nice little orange, juicy look to it.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh yeah, that's citrus all over.
Yeah, that's like a raw orange juice type of aroma, huh?
Yep, that's like I popped open a Tropicana.
Yeah. Cheers to that. Bitterness is pretty low. Oh wait, no it's not. It's just slow arriving. Super soft up front, a little bit of bite. Trails off a bit. Maybe there's like a lot of pineapple in the flavor, I think.
I get grapefruit transitioning into orange.
Okay.
That's what I get.
Completely different fruits out of this.
It does, because I can maybe it's just the scent that I just think orange right off the bat. Yeah. But I taste
the scent was really strong.
I get grapefruit, but then I feel like I'm having like the last bit of like a tangerine.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the end, that's
like one that's over ripened.
I didn't say my taste buds were right. Just telling you. Nothing right around here, man. Nothing. But very citrus, very light. Light. We'll definitely crack 6 of these open on a Sunday.
Yeah. Speaking of not doing a whole lot of things right, that's not what Denver did a whole lot of last year.
Oh Lord!
So as they bring in the former leader of Gate, how does this like strong, well-known presence in Sean Payton kind of give Denver what they need to kind of get a good to kind of get the right to kind of get the right path
to right the
Russ.
Ship. Yeah, to right the ship.
Tripped over my own words.
It kind of has a feel of if Russ can't get it right this year, they're moving on.
Yeah.
Like I really have this feeling that, and no one's going to say it out loud, but I think if you were to put Russ and Sean Payton in a room and the owners say, okay, you got to choose one, Sean is the guy. I think the new ownership there, it's been a couple years with the new owners, they want to build a winner. They want to be that elite franchise again. And if Russ isn't giving that to them, especially after what happened last year, they're willing to say, what do we got to do? And they believe that Sean Payton is the mastermind, is the man that can bring that to them. You've heard, they've changed things in the facility. Russ doesn't have his office anymore. There isn't this. Russ gets to do his own thing with his own quarterback coach because, that's the hot thing. Quarterbacks need a quarterback coach. Only works for one guy. Ding, ding. If you know, you know. And I think Russ got away from what he was. I think he started believing in his brand. That's all he was worried about. And that's the vibe that it came off as is, I'm worried about my commercials, my this, my that, and forgot why he's there. So right now, if Russ can't deliver, it's going to be a problem. And I think people are assuming to deliver, it's a playoff berth.
Oh, yeah.
9-8 won't cut it.
In a very difficult division to do that.
Exactly. Probably, on paper, the toughest division in the NFL. Let's be real.
Yeah. Well, we'll do a quick little dive on their schedule before we have a little fun and move on to the next team. They have a Week 9 bye, so right smack in the middle of the season. 2 home games off the bat, Vegas and Washington.
Okay.
On the road to Miami, on the road to Chicago. Not the worst first 4 games.
You could see a 3-1.
Yeah. 3-1 at probably worst. We'll get into Vegas a little bit. They got some weird stuff going on.
Because it's Vegas, Washington, Miami, and Chicago. Yeah. I could see 3-1.
Next 4 into the bye week, home against the Jets. On actually both Chiefs games with the home game against the Packers sandwich in between. Little bit tougher of those 4 games. Jets are obviously going to be tough. Chiefs are not easy, and the Packers, I guess, is kind of a...
So do you think to their benefit getting the Chiefs out of the way so soon kind of helps them?
Probably, but if they get swept, not being able to get them back at the end of the season will come back to bite them.
So you feel their best move is to go 1-1
They absolutely need a sweep. I know in the past when we do our schedule breakdowns, we always split the division head-to-heads.
But
they really need to at least split the division head-to-head with the Chiefs. Because that's, I think, getting both games so early, you're right. Get them before they kind of get into their groove towards the end of the season, where now they're just kind of, the Chiefs, as we know the Chiefs do, just kind of have the light switch they flick on.
Right.
Get them, I definitely agree with your point on that. Like, get them early before they do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or before they stop doing that, I guess.
Before they decide to wake up and say it's time.
But at the same token, if they don't get at least a split out of those 2 games, they're going to regret not getting a chance at the Chiefs later in the season, I think.
That's true, especially if the Chiefs struggle.
Yeah.
So that could be the difference in that division.
So, I mean, that's a weird first half of the schedule. You got the first 4 games, which are relatively easy-ish. And then the next 4 that are brutal. That's going to be a well-deserved bye week.
Wow.
However, after the bye week, Bills are super rough.
Right.
Monday night are hot out of the gate. Vikings, Browns, Texans. That's not too bad at all.
That's a palatable second half.
Chargers is tough. They get the Chargers twice in 4 weeks, actually, with the Lions and the Patriots sandwiched in between. Those, in theory, should be winnable games there.
Right.
And then they close with the Raiders again. So that's really not the worst, especially considering you get the Bills out of the way when you're fresh off the bye.
True.
That's really not the worst second half schedule. So that doesn't look too bad for Denver, schedule-wise.
All right. No, it doesn't. I think the thing is, though, they got to stay healthy. They've already lost Tim Patrick again for the second year in a row with injury.
Poor guy.
The guy has talent, but just can't stay on the field. So I think that's going to be key. And they've got Williams coming back from injury at running back position. They've got the pieces. The team is talented. It's just, can they put it all together? And can Payton and Russ coexist? That's the biggest question right there. If they can, this team could be dangerous.
Yeah. Before we move on to the next team, having a little fun, of course, because Payton made some probably unnecessary headlines this offseason, taking a shot at his predecessor, Nathaniel Hackett. And Rodgers, Hackett's Rodgers guy, Rodgers stood up for him, went right at Payton's throat, telling him he was insecure. If some man has to be that insecure to take a shot at one of his own brethren in the coaching circuit, got a little dicey that game in week 5, is it?
Yeah, everyone's circling that one. That one, if they could move that one to probably Monday night or Sunday night, they would do it. Yeah, like I get it. You're the new guy, you're the new toy, find your Sean Payton, you had success, in New Orleans. Now let's be realistic. Probably should have a little bit more than you did, if you're going to start throwing things around.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like to go in there and you wanted to stick up for Russ in a weird way. I think that's what it was. But like to go in on Hackett like that was it's petty. It makes no sense. Why do it?
Yeah.
Just go in and say something generic, like, some things were off last year. We want to get Russ to where he should be, and that's what I'm here for. Keep it short and sweet to the point. But the fact is, he goes and does that. Now, Aaron's looking for blood. Like, if you're betting on games that week, I put a ton of money on Aaron because I think he's going to light it up.
Yeah.
He's going to light it up.
And I will say, not really to play devil's advocate, but I guess playing a little devil's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
In his comment, their play calling was awful last year.
Oh, there's no doubt
there is credibility to Payton's comments.
Mm-hmm.
It's really just the necessity of him having to say that.
Oh no! If you read the transcripts, you read everything he said. He wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
But why come out and shoot that? Like no one came at the Broncos in any way, shape, or form. No one came out and said anything. So why go after Hackett? Like he's off in his own world. He's got Aaron Rodgers. He's living the life in New York. Why come after him?
Yeah.
Like, are you trying to come off as the bully or something? Okay, great. Well, you're away from football. Now you better put up or shut up. Because now, and there's probably other people in the league who are looking at you saying, okay, man, all right. And they're going to want to make you look bad. You really didn't do anything to put a mark on your back. And if you start out slow and you don't turn this thing around, in my opinion, you're no better than Hackett.
Yeah. So
it's going to be interesting to see.
Next up is the new big money man in the NFL, Justin Herbert.
Herbie!
At $258 million.
Yep, Herbie making that money. Let's see, $52.5 a year annual, highest paid QB. Now's the time for Herbie to put up. Like the guy's got talent. That whole team has talent on both sides of the ball. The coaching was rough last year on that team. So now with Kellen Moore coming from the Cowboys as the play caller, I think you're gonna see some things. But yeah, you're the man. So now you got to put up.
I always like Kellen Moore. I think Dallas really missed the boat, not saying goodbye to McCarthy early, and giving the job to Kellen Moore. But I think they really kind of missed the boat on that one.
It's one of those things where did you think he was ready or he wasn't ready? If they'd put him in before they'd gotten McCarthy, it would have been a year too soon. Or I think he should have got the shot. I'm not a fan of McCarthy at all, but what is, and now what he's gonna do is if he can really turn this offense even more explosive, he's gonna have his pick of any job he wants. He really will. So,
if Herbert puts up MVP type numbers,
definitely, he's definitely gonna do that. But this team has weapons on both sides of the ball. There really are no real holes on this team. It's just a question of can you get over the fact that you had the Jags by the throat in the first half and then gave up 30 points the second half and lost. Like that's gonna be the question all season long. Like they are going to have to come out and literally go toe to toe and stick with the Chiefs record wise for people to believe they're real, I think.
Yeah. Well, let's see if they can do that. Now, Interesting enough, I know you have never been a fan of this, and I've grown to not be a fan of it, but the early bye week, I have a bye in week 5.
No. If the perfect world, I think you want it. I'm mid-season. Like, having it in week 5, it feels like after the 4th week, you find out who your team is.
Yeah.
4 weeks in, you kind of know who you are. And now you're going to, you get that, especially if they catch hot and now it's okay, it's a bye week. I think some teams kind of are tough when they come back from the bye week to keep it going. So I'm not a fan of it, but hey, that's what the NFL gave you.
Yeah. Their first 4 games, I think they can get off to a good start. At home with the Dolphins on opening day, and Dolphins. We don't know what Tua is going to be like coming back. I think they can probably catch Miami, and on the road, a team that historically does not always travel the best.
Okay.
I think they could catch Miami there. They got to go at Tennessee, who is not in the greatest position right now. They got to go at Minnesota, who's, as we talked last week, is in a little bit of a transitionary phase, and then they get the Raiders at home going into the bye.
They could 4-0.
Yeah.
If you were to tell me they would be 4-0, I would buy that. Yeah. Like you said, Miami is the only sticking point. I don't know if Miami's going to come out hot out of the gate or not. It all depends on Tua and the concussion situation. It's week 1, so he should be healthy, but 2 plays in, you never know, unfortunately. But I would give them 4-0. I think they're going to come out and try to make statements right off the bat. So,
speaking of statements, after the bye, brutal stretch. Come in Monday night, are hosting the Cowboys. They go on the road to Kansas City. They get the Bears at home. Don't totally know what the Bears are, but it's a Sunday nighter. Bears are a young team. Anything could happen. And then on the road against the Jets. Brutal 4 games to come back off the bye week. I mean, I guess the silver lining is it's still kind of early in the season. You get those out of the way, right?
I think you look at that and you say, okay, if I come out of that 2-2, I feel good. Like I said, Dallas is just an enigma in itself. If Dak throws up 2 or 3 picks, then yeah, okay, they give him the game. Like, it's just, I don't know. So if I said if you're coming out 4-0 your first 4, and then you go 2-2, you're 6-2, I think they would take that.
And then closing out the season. It's not, well, I guess it's not really closing out the season at this point. We're not even Thanksgiving. It's not the worst. Home Detroit, at Green Bay, home Ravens. Thankfully, that's at home, I guess.
Yeah.
At New England, Denver first game, Vegas rematch on the road, home Bills. Thankfully, that's at home. And then they close it out with 2 divisional games, Denver and Kansas City. Home then away. Away then home. So, give and take. That's tough because their division's so tough. If their division wasn't as tough, that would look like a pretty easy second half.
Yeah, it's because there's so much division. Their schedule is division backloaded a lot. Like, so you're sitting there and you're like, all right, it's not totally bad.
No, because other than the division, your 2 hardest games in there, Baltimore and Buffalo, are both at home.
Yeah, you do end with Kansas City. Now that's going to be key in the sense of it all just at that point it's seeding.
Especially if they're neck and neck, in theory, it could even be for the division.
Exactly, because if that division in theory is supposed to play like how it is on paper, and we've said could be one of the toughest divisions in football, that last game of the season very well could hold all the cards. You don't know. So I think it's.
Like we had a bird dive bomb?
I don't know. Well, it stopped. Hopefully nothing bites me. I'm sensitive. I can't see, but okay, cool. But, but yeah, I think the schedule is interesting. It's feasible, so we're going to see what happens.
Next up, of course, wouldn't be right if we didn't touch on the champs. Now they have 2 Super Bowls in 4 years.
I believe so.
4 years. 2 Super Bowls in 4 years. Patrick Mahomes has already been asked and answered appropriately. You can't call yourself a dynasty until you win number 3. What are their outlook to actually get number 3?
Okay. The Chiefs are interesting.
They didn't really improve their wide receivers much. It didn't seem to matter last year.
No, and of course, the Chiefs go as far as Mahomes takes them. It's fact. If you were to put that wide receiver room on any other team, I don't know what you're getting. You really don't. Now, there's been a change. Eric Bieniemy isn't there anymore. So the first question is, and this will be answered, who was really calling the plays on offense? Who handled the offense? Was it Andy Reid or was it Bieniemy?
I tend to side Andy Reid on that. I think Bieniemy was doing his share of play calling, but Andy Reid is historically always the play calling coach.
I don't know. A lot of people, ever since this, this run has happened, a lot of people have hung their hats that Bieniemy was the guy, and Andy did his part, but Bieniemy was kind of like the architect in this sense. So it's a question. Unless we're there next to them, we don't know who's calling what. So it could be Reid a bit, it could be Bieniemy. I kind of tend to lean towards Bieniemy. So it's going to be, what does this offense look like? The wide receivers are tough right now. Tony's hurt. He's banged up a bit already in preseason. He's already hurting. Who's really your number one? Now, when you look at that offense, you honestly have to say Travis Kelce. He's a tight end, but he runs wide receiver routes, so I would almost call him the pseudo number one.
Yeah.
Sky Moore's got to step up. This is going to be his year.
Yeah.
Now, right.
Scandling. Well, what's his name?
Oh, yeah.
18,000 names.
Marquise Scandling or whatever. He's decent. Okay, he's all right. He was good in Green Bay, but he was never a guy to me who struck fear. It just seemed that Aaron just made the great throws. He was there and was a recipient kind of deal.
Do you have hands?
Yeah, you got hands. He's decent. He's decent. I'm not going to knock him, but it's like, I guess he's your number one. I feel that for them to repeat, everything does have to go perfect. And you have to look long term. Travis isn't going to be this shifty in another couple years. You're really going to have to work on the offense. Now, also, Chris Jones is holding out on the defensive end. Let's be honest. Like, the defense is young. They've drafted a lot of young defensive guys, and they played well last year. They were decent. They do give up some points. So the question is the defense going to take that next step? Because if it doesn't, it kind of just sits there. If they all play we have Patrick, so we're okay. Yeah. If Patrick gets nicked up again or goes through a stretch where he actually has to sit out,
how complacent is the defense going to be?
I think they're young. I think they'll be okay, but they're going to give up some points. Yeah. And their backup, I believe, is Blaine Gabbert, formerly of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
The backup of champions.
Yeah, man, he sticks with the champs. He's like, all right, Tom's gone. Patrick.
He's going to have 5 rings by the time his career's over, and all going to be with a different team.
He's a top 10 pick. He's getting his rings just in another way. Hey. But
if Colin Kaepernick ever needed an extra insult to the way his career's gone.
Ouch. So I think it's health for the Chiefs. It's health. And if someone else needs to really step up and be another playmaker. Now, right now, they're saying that Isaiah Pacheco, he's still kind of nicked up. So Alaire is going to be the number one right now. That's what they're saying. He's the number one guy right now. He hasn't been great as the number one. So,
yeah, no.
I'm all about the Mahomes magic and the throws and stuff, but there's going to be a point where that stops.
My only issue with them splitting the feature back role is because the two of them are kind of the same player. They're both a good pass rusher. They're both they can run up the middle, but they're kind of better on the outside. Like,
I think
Pacheco's a little better up the middle.
I think he's more physical.
Yeah, but he's not like this big rugged like Brandon Jacobs type,
No, but he can take the hits. If you were to ask me if I'm running that style, I'm taking Pacheco over Alaire because Alaire can't stay healthy either.
That's right.
I think the way what's happened with Pacheco is he's kind of understanding I can't be this bulldozing kind of guy like I was in Rutgers all these years. I got to change it up a bit. So I think you may see a slight change in the way he runs, or he may just say, you know what, this is what got me to the show. I'm going to keep with it.
Yeah.
So I think health is big for them. If teams can honestly figure out how to handle Kelce and force them to really make Patrick just sit in the pocket and throw, I think that's your best bet. Now, he can make throws. I'm not saying he can't, but I would rather do that and have my corners handle Tony and all those other guys more and force them to make plays.
Yeah.
because I don't know.
Great space.
Because I don't know if they can.
Yeah.
So,
schedule-wise, they start off, of course, on opening night because they're the champs against the Lions. They go on the road to Jacksonville.
the Prince.
The Prince. Sunshine.
I'm telling you, man.
Home against the Bears at New York.
Ooh.
That's, of course, a Sunday nighter.
Loving that one.
At Minnesota. Home against Denver. Home against the Chargers. At Denver again, which we went over a minute ago.
Okay.
And home against Miami, which has an asterisk, so maybe that 9:30 a.m., so that's an international game.
That's an international game.
And that heads into their bye week.
Ooh, that's not easy. If you really look at that schedule, okay, you got Detroit, Chicago.
This going into the bye week is where I look at it being the most trouble. Because up here, Jacksonville's tough, but Jacksonville I feel like has a lot of pressure. So it's probably better to play them early in the season.
But Jacksonville added on. Don't forget, they got Calvin Ridley now. And they hung with the Chiefs last year.
Yeah, they did.
I think Jacksonville is a team that's going to sit there and say, we're not scared of you. They have the attitude that everybody else in that division should have, and I don't think maybe has.
See, to me, that puts pressure on them to, they show that they could belong. Now they need to prove that they do belong.
No, I get you, but I think last year no one thought Jacksonville was going to be as good as they were.
No.
And I think with Doug Peterson, he's the right coach for that. He has told those guys, you belong. And like I said, Calvin Ridley is going to just make that offense so much more explosive. If you've watched him in training camp, that guy is faster than I think he's been. He's unreal. So, now is that game in Jacksonville?
Yes.
Oh, see, there you go too. Now, if they were going to KC, I'd say okay, but that's in Jacksonville.
But that's why I'm saying,
this early, this is the time to catch the Chiefs.
I was thinking that, well, that's true, but I also think that this is also the time of the year to catch Jacksonville.
I think Jacksonville has almost has less questions in a way.
Yeah.
For play calling and things like that, and the running game.
Yeah.
I think Jacksonville could say, if we can steal this here, we're in nice shape. And I think Peterson may think that way. So I like that game. I like that matchup for Jacksonville.
Okay. Other than that, I mean, we'll give them Detroit because it's opening night with the banner raising, and we'll give them Chicago because Chicago is going to take a little while to figure out who they are.
Exactly. Unless an injury happens.
It's in Arrowhead. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, it's in Arrowhead? Oh, yeah. Okay, there you go.
Obviously,
that Jets game is going to be pretty.
Minnesota could be a little rough because it's on the road, but we'll give it to Kansas City. And then you get into this brutal stretch going into the bye week. You have the two Denver games plus the Chargers.
And then Miami.
Which, as we went over, Herbert still on to prove. And then Miami. By this point, if Miami's legit, we'll know they're legit.
Exactly.
Plus, it's on a neutral field. They all have to deal with traveling and that sort of thing.
Exactly. You got 3 division games in a row there. Like it's interesting. If they stay healthy and do what they're supposed to do, they could come out of that okay. But, oh, man, that's interesting. Finally, the scheduling people doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Not some soft, fluffy schedule for the champs. Jeez.
After the bye week does not get Monday nighter, Monday night Super Bowl rematch at home against the Eagles. This is why they took up so much page because they put it on 3 different networks.
Wow.
So they have the Super Bowl rematch fresh out of the bye week. They go on the road to the Raiders. They get a little bit of a cakewalk Green Bay, but it's on the road. I mean, obviously, it's not the same Green Bay without Rodgers, but it is still cold dirt. Not that Kansas City is particularly a warm city.
Exactly.
But it's certainly not Green Bay. And then they get Buffalo, which is kind of brutal. New England, to think of New England as the easy game out of this is kind of crazy to me, but
it is.
It kind of is the easy game out of
it. It is, unless it's one of those things when all of a sudden, Belichick can pull from the past and all of a sudden it's like a 15-13 dogfight. Yeah. And then I still even think if the Chiefs come out like that and win a game like that, it works for them, but they're coming out beat up.
And brutal finish. Home rematch with the Raiders. Home Cincinnati. Thankfully that's at home, but Cincinnati's, of course, their rival in the last couple of years. They're always playing each other in the playoffs. And then on the road to the Chargers, which we just talked a minute ago about how that could be for the division. But looking at this schedule, it might not be.
Exactly. Cincinnati isn't scared of. They've already been chipping in the offseason at each other. Cincinnati's not scared of going into freaking Arrowhead.
Yeah.
So no, this schedule is not the best.
Yeah.
So health is going to be key. That
And
time
focus.
yeah, timing with the receivers and such. Because if all they're living on is Travis, it could be a long season. And that defense, if they aren't on point, it could be interesting.
And of course, the last team in this division, the New England Patriots. Wait, no, that's not right. Although, you do often confuse the Las Vegas Raiders and the New England Patriots these days.
They are the Las Vegas Patriots, is what they are called. It's unbelievable what that team has become. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Usually, coordinators and stuff like that, when they leave a team, go to another team, they'll look for players that kind of fit that scheme because they'll want to continue it in a new place. But this is just, I don't get Josh McDaniels. It's nuts. It's to the point where it's like you might as well just drive over there, get on a bus. Who doesn't like it here in New England, and ship them over out west? Jimmy G as your starting quarterback. Don't get it. Ridiculous. So that's where we're sitting right now.
Yeah, they very much mistreated Derek Carr there. I get that they had to get rid of him because even though they kind of brought that upon themselves, he was probably not going to be happy there, and that was not going to be a good situation. I don't think it would have worked out if they had meshed things up and he would have stayed.
I don't understand it. Like, he's your franchise quarterback for so many years. You bring over Davante Adams, college roommate, guy, they want to play together. You bring arguably the best wide receiver in the league. Bring him over. Your offense is set pretty nice, and then all of a sudden you just tell this quarterback, okay, yeah, we don't want you. It makes no sense to me. So then you get rid of him, and then you bring in Jimmy G. The guy really isn't a downfield thrower at all. He's a nickel and dime, mid guy. You saw what he did in San Fran. He was a product of the system, no doubt. And now this is what you've got. It's not good. It's really not. This team offensively is just not good.
Yeah, and like him not being a downfield receiver, it really kind of doesn't work well with having Davante Adams there, which you brought in because of Carr.
Yeah, so how are you going to stretch the field? If Jimmy can't stretch the field for you, then Davante's just sitting there. It's a waste of space. And now Jacobs isn't in camp.
Yeah,
what are you going to do now?
That's the other big storyline of their season outlook is the fact that he doesn't have a contract yet, and he doesn't have any obligation to come to camp because he didn't sign his tender. So they didn't give him his money, and he's like, okay.
He'll sit and wait, do his thing. And now this team is going to muddle through. What kind of offense can you run? Because I don't think McDaniels has the pieces that he wants to run it. Like, because your running back is gone. Your quarterback is still kind of hurt, even though he's been cleared. He hasn't looked great in camp. You got Davante Adams, who's supposed to stretch the field for you. Your quarterback can't throw him the ball. Your defense is okay. Your line is solid with Crosby and Jones. But then after that, you've got some pieces. No, this team clearly, I believe, is the worst in the division. I don't see them finishing any better than fourth.
Yeah, and their schedule is not particularly the easiest. They start off absolutely brutal on the road against division rival Denver, on the road against Buffalo, home against Steelers, who we talked about it last week. They're a little bit of a weird state right now, but they still play tough. They still want to kick the snot out of you, and then they go on the road against division rival the Chargers.
They could go 0-4.
Yeah,
to start the season.
They get two kind of rebuilding-ish teams, both at home, Green Bay and New England. They get two kind of up-and-coming teams on the road, Chicago, Detroit. Then they get both of the New York teams at home. They go on the road to Miami, and then they get Kansas City at home before a very late bye week at 13. You can kind of pick out some positives out of that, but not a lot.
No, it's that schedule does not bode well for them at all. They need cards to fall so in their favor, it's ridiculous. And the fact that your bye week is week 13, that's
yeah. There's a lot of soul searching, and not in a good way before you get to that.
Yeah, exactly. It's not pretty.
We talked a little. We broke this down a little bit off air, and we got up to about 9 losses through that run. 9 losses into your last 5 games. These last 5 games, not great. I'll give you Minnesota. I'll give you Indianapolis, but one game against each divisional rival in those final 5 is if you've already got 9 losses, you're not looking like a solid team right now.
No, I'm at best. I'm gonna give you 6-11 for this team. I just don't think they have it. I think offensively, there's just no cohesiveness. There's nothing there. Josh Jacobs miraculously signs a tender and comes into camp, and then yeah, I'll give you some wins. It's still going to be tough, but they might be able to see 500 possibly, but there's no way that this team is going to compete in that division. Not at all.
Well, speaking of competing, let's give you some wins and toss to our man Donnie Dolla signs for his picks of how the AFC West is going to go.
Make it rain this year. All right, Chase, Donnie Dolla here. We're here to give you the picks for the AFC West. Now, we can go and take the Chiefs, which everybody's probably going to, but we're not going to do that. We're going to go with the Denver Broncos at plus 550 to win the division. I know the Chiefs are the cream of the crop and Andy Reid and all that, but, I mean, besides Kelsey, they got Tony this year, and with the loss of Juju, I know he didn't do too much, but, I mean, other than that, there's not too many weapons here. I mean, Kansas City's Kansas City. But we're going to go with the Denver Broncos at plus 550 to win the division. We got Sean Payton there, Russell Wilson. Hopefully he can get his second chance, be rejuvenated this year. He sucked last year, so we'll see what happens with Sutton and Judy. And that defense is pretty good. And anytime you go to Mile High, it's always hard to play there. So I like that bet this year. Plus 550 for the Denver Broncos to win the division. Yeah, we're going to keep it short and sweet today. That's what we like. We like the Broncos to win division. The Chargers, after that choke last year, I don't think they might make the playoffs again, but I just feel that's got to be in their head going forward. To blow that big of a lead to the Jaguars, I don't see them coming back to make the playoffs this year. So we're going to go with the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs. We know that. But I feel the Broncos are going to win the division this year. So plus 550 on the Broncos. Take to the house. Back to you, Chase.
Thanks, Donnie, for those picks. Lock those in before the season kicks off. Let's give our picks on the AFC West. We went over the schedules.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to give deference to the champs, but at the same time, that is an absolutely brutal schedule. And I don't want to put all my eggs in Denver's basket because they have a lot to prove off of last year. Payton's got a lot to prove, not having coached in a couple of years or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
But I really think that this division is so close otherwise that it's going to take a random nonsense difference maker like who's got the easiest schedule or who gets a break here or there playing a particular team at the right time versus playing them at the wrong time. And I don't necessarily want to give Denver the edge in this, but I kind of might have to just for some stupid reason like that.
No, I get it. If you're looking for that weird scenario where things just happen to fall right, and Russ was just having a bad year, and all he needed was a coach to bring it all together. I get it, but I don't know. I think Russ has hit the cliff, as they call it. That term was thrown around a lot. Last 7 to 10 years with somebody, and cliff never appeared. I just don't know if Denver has it. I'm not sold on them. They have a decent defense. The defense is good. I just don't trust Russ anymore. I think he's really just kind of been about his brand and about him. And I don't know if him and Payton are going to gel. I think at first it's going to be, oh, yay, and then it's going to bottom out. I don't think they have the talent to match the division, meaning the Chargers. I'm going with the Chargers. I think the Chargers are outside of the Chiefs. Well, no, maybe. They may be more complete than the Chiefs. if you're looking at position by position.
Yeah,
Um,
I would agree with that.
I feel that the Chargers have the best defense in the division. I
Mhm.
really do. I think they have the best pieces in the division.
Yeah.
Now it's a veteran defense. Like there isn't a lot of youth on there. They're not old, but they've been through the wars. I like the offense. Eckler's still a top back. You got Keenan Allen and receiver, and I just feel they are the most complete team that can take the Chiefs off the top. So I'm going with the Chargers.
I will agree. Like, I think they should be the favorite going in, and I think had maybe it's just the way I interpret their schedule, but had I interpreted a different way, or maybe like one team wasn't on there, or something was reversed the other way, I probably would say like, yeah, that's my pick, and we'd be in complete agreement. But I do think the Chargers should be the favorite going in. I just think there's going to be some weird, because it's the NFL. There's always some weird nonsense that happens, and the difference could be just, like I said, something stupid like the schedule of when you played somebody versus somebody else playing them later.
No, I get it. I just think that the Chargers are more seasoned in that aspect then, because they can sit there and they've been through it. Believe me, they have to bounce back from being up 30 points to the Jags and then losing.
Yeah.
Like they've had adversity that they have to deal with.
Yeah.
I just think that team is more prepared to handle it than the Broncos right now. Now, the Broncos in 2 or 3 years could be that team and everything's fine, but it all depends on Russ. I think right now, if you're talking who's a better quarterback, there's no doubt who the better quarterback is between Russ and Herbie. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens, but I'm taking the Chargers.
I am, and I cannot disagree enough to challenge that at all.
Your money on the Chargers, man.
That's right.
$5, man. You got it in the couch.
Put your money on us. Take Donnie's picks. Take our picks. We got a couple more weeks to get through the rest of these divisions, and tomorrow we'll check out the lesser of the Western divisions in the NFL, the NFC West. EU. But watch anyway. Cheers.